Hello. So, time for some coaching on here. I apologize that I haven't been very present or active in creating content. I've fallen off with my YouTube videos and going live and even my articles. So I'm sorry for you all. And I'm also just sorry for myself because I get so much fulfillment out of creating content and I haven't been structuring my life such that I've been able to consistently do that. And it's really having an impact on myself. I feel so much less me and so much less fulfilled because I haven't actively been creating content. And it's just so silly because I have so many topics that I want to speak about. And I've been withholding that from myself. So thanks for joining and tuning in. And today what I want to talk about is this topic that's come up so often with my clients and in my retreats and even just in my life with conversations that I have with friends. And it is the fear of becoming like our parents. The fear of being like, or it doesn't have to be a parent, it can be the fear of being like an aunt of yours, or the fear of being like a sibling, or whoever it was in your life that from an early age, you really resented aspects of their personality. You really disliked certain things about themselves, about them. And when at an early age we decide that we really don't like something about someone, we often make what I call a protective decision. So it's a decision that we make to not be like that person. And it generates all of this fear. And every time we make a decision, I'm not going to be judgmental like this person, or I'm not going to be mean like this person, or I'm not going to let anybody walk all over me like this person, or I'm not going to be overbearing like this person. We think that those decisions are really helpful and productive in terms of us being who we really want to be. But really, every time we make a decision like that, we're just building the walls of the box that we then live the rest of our lives inside of. Because every time we decide, I'm not going to be like this, there's also a corresponding decision that, so I have to be like this. And these are the moments where we create something called a strong suit. So in the moment that we decide, I'm not going to let anybody walk all over me like my dad did, that's the same moment that we also decide, and therefore I'm going to have to be fiercely independent and I'm not going to need anybody else. And I'm always going to speak my mind. And we create all these constraints and we create all of these ways that we therefore have to go on being in our lives. And again, we think that this is productive, but really what it does is it keeps us in this really low level vibration. It keeps us in a vibration of fear. Because it's not that we're freely choosing, you know what, I really want to be an independent person and I really want to speak my mind and I want to speak my truth. It's not from inspiration, it's from fear. It's from, I do not want to be like my dad, and so therefore I have to be these ways. So I'm going to put myself in this little box and I'm going to live in fear. And I'm going to shun the parts of myself that I perceive that are even somewhat like him or somewhat like her. And a lot of you are really familiar with shadow work. One of the things that doesn't get talked about a lot with shadow work is that often our shadow, which what your shadow is your shadow is the part of yourself that you're unwilling to acknowledge or accept or forgive or admit that it's there. So you keep it in the recesses of your being. You keep it in the dark. You keep it in this dungeon within yourself. A lot of our shadow, a lot of these parts of ourselves that we're afraid of come from our parents. They come from the ways that we perceived our parents to be that we decided that we never wanted to be. And what we need to understand is that rather than working so hard to control ourselves and stuff down these parts of ourselves that we perceive are like them, instead, what's wanted and what's needed here is for us to accept and embrace all of the ways in which we are like these people. And we need to own it and we need to reclaim it. And we need to say, hell yeah, I have aspects of myself that are weak. Hell yeah, there are aspects of myself that give people permission to use me in certain ways. Because until we can claim those parts of ourselves, until we can claim the bitch within us, or until we can claim the one that is overly confident, or until we can claim the part of ourselves that feels weak and vulnerable, or until we can claim the slut within, or until we can claim the one that likes to manipulate. Until we can claim these aspects of ourselves, they have power over us and they rule us. And we spend our entire lives trying to avoid ourselves. And we create this internal war within ourselves where there's this part of ourselves that we don't allow to show itself, but that doesn't make it go away. That just makes us have to exert all of this energy to keep it hidden and to stuff it down. And when we're doing that, when we're resisting aspects of ourselves, we're draining ourselves of our authenticity. We're draining ourselves of our vitality. We're draining ourselves of our aliveness, and we're draining ourselves of the freedom to choose. There is a big, big, big difference between choosing to be a loving, independent, open-minded, receptive person from inspiration and from love versus forcing ourselves to be that way and deciding that we're not allowed to be any other way because we're so dang afraid of being like our parents or being like whoever that figure was in our lives that we decided we're not allowed to ever be anything like. There's a big difference. Same ways of being, but one is coming from fear and from resistance and from shaming and shunning parts of ourselves, and one is coming from love and inspiration. And what I want you all to know is that resenting our parents for being how they are and being afraid of becoming like them is not productive and it's not helpful. Because what we're doing is we're putting all of this attention onto who we don't want to be. And wherever you put your attention, that's what you grow. So we think that if I'm afraid enough of being manipulative, then I won't be manipulative. But that's not how it works, because now you're putting all of this attention on being manipulative. It's like if I say, don't think of a green Jeep. All of a sudden, green Jeep is in your mind. Exactly. What you resist persists. So if you're resisting the aspect of yourself that is manipulative and you're putting energy into that, then you are going to actually have to manipulate yourself out of being the fullness of who you are. So you immediately are evoking that way of being. As soon as you don't want to be it, that's actually who you're being. If you're afraid of being judgmental, like your mom was or your aunt was or whoever, then you're putting energy into, oh, I can't be like her. I hate that she's judgmental. And then guess what? In that moment, you're being judgmental. So you instantly create it by being afraid of being it. But the more we own and honor these aspects of ourselves, the less power and control they have over us. It doesn't create freedom for me to be afraid of being a bitch or being mean. That doesn't make me more free to choose who I want to be. Instead, that's giving power to the fear of being that way. And then that fear now has power over me, and I'm less free. So I want us all to think through, who are the people that have been in my life that I'm terrified of becoming? And what are those ways of being that I perceive that they are, that I'm so afraid of being myself? What are these undesired ways of being? We talk a lot about core desired ways of being, right? Like Danielle Laporte, and getting clear about what our core desired ways of being are. But we often don't talk about what are our core undesired ways of being? What are the ways that we're terrified of being? Who are we terrified of becoming? And often that has so much more power over us than the ways that we want to be. And we're putting our attention on who we don't want to be rather than on who we do want to be. So we have to identify what these fears are so that we can release ourselves from the prison of that fear. So we can let ourselves out of that box that we constructed for ourselves when we were 8 or 9 years old and we looked up at these people and we said, oh, hell no, am I going to be like you? I'm not going to be like you, so I'm going to be the opposite. And we created this identity for ourselves that we then locked ourselves into. Ashley says, say that again. We look at people in our lives that are ways we're afraid of being. Yeah, so look for who are the people that you've encountered in your life that you said to yourself at one point in time, I'm never going to be like you. I better not be anything like you. And then notice that the moment that you told yourself that you would never be anything like that person, you constructed an identity for yourself that you've sentenced yourself to. You've imprisoned yourself in that identity. So look to, what did you decide that you would need to be in order to compensate for not being like that person? right? If you're like, I'm not ever going to be anything like my mom, then who did you tell yourself that you were going to have to be? And how has that decision constrained you? If you've decided that you have to be so nice in order to make sure that you never be mean like one of your parents were, are you really freely choosing to be nice? Or is this an identity that you've imposed upon yourself? Is this a box that you've put yourself in? And does that fear of being mean actually have a lot of power over you? Is that fear controlling you? Is that fear preventing you from saying what you need to say in certain circumstances? Is that fear preventing you from setting boundaries? Is that fear preventing you from standing up for yourself? How are these fears of becoming like these people controlling you and dominating you and forcing you into certain fixed ways of being that you haven't really freely chosen in a long time? It's just something that you sentenced yourself to a long time ago when you made that protective decision and you decided, I'm not going to be like this person. So as a summary, we think that fear of becoming like our parents or whoever, we think that that's productive. And we think that that makes us be more of who we really want to be. When really it's not productive. It just keeps us at this low level vibration of fear, and it prevents us from being the truly authentic, loving, open, free people that we want to be. So in order to stop being controlled by this fear, we need to do a couple things. First of all, we need to forgive. We need to forgive whoever it is that we're afraid of becoming. See if you can jump into their perspective a little bit more than you have in the past. See if you can look from their point of view a little bit more closely than you have before. And see if you can forgive them for being who they were. And then look at yourself and look at the ways that you are like that. And forgive yourself for being like that, and claim that and proclaim that and say, hell yeah, I'm like this. Hell yeah, I'm manipulative. And it really works for me. And I own that about myself. And I see that about myself. And I'm willing to see that about myself. And I'm willing to take responsibility for whatever impact it has. But I'm not going to deny it, and I'm not going to shun it anymore, because when I do that, then I'm creating a shadow aspect of myself against which I have to fight. And I'm investing all of this energy in resistance. And I'm done doing that. So forgiving yourself for the ways that you actually are like that, and forgiving that person for their being that way as well. And understanding that being afraid of becoming like them is not productive, and it's not serving you, and it's not helping you be more of who you want to be. And understanding that whatever we're afraid of becoming, when we put energy on that fear, we actually become more of that. So letting go of that fear and understanding that if you're committed to being a loving, open, receptive, forgiving, independent, free, self-expressed person, if you're committed to that, then that's who you really are. And that's what's going to come out naturally when you let go of the fear. It's like when you take an orange and you squeeze an orange, what comes out is orange juice, because that's what's inside. So you don't need to keep this fear around in order to be who you want to be. You can drop the fear, and you naturally are going to be that free, loving, self-expressed, authentic, honest person that you want to be. Because that's just what's inside. So I'm going to post the link to a guided meditation that I did for embracing the shadow aspects of yourself and healing your relationship to your shadow. Because again, when we're afraid of becoming like our parents, or when we're afraid of becoming like these people who we've resented for our whole lives, that becomes the shadow aspect of ourselves. And then there's all this energy that we expend in resisting that part of ourselves. So in this guided meditation that I recorded, it allows you to encounter that shadow aspect of yourself and to heal that relationship to your shadow, and to really see how much that fear of your shadow has been controlling and dominating you. So I'll post that link. And also, if you don't see it and you're interested, just feel free to message me and I'll send it to you. Normally these guided meditations are only for my clients, but I think this one will be really helpful in correspondence with this video. So there you go. There is how to stop being afraid of becoming like him or her, or becoming like our parents, and what to do to overcome that prison of that fear. Hopefully this was helpful. Feel free to reach out and let me know any feedback that you have, or anything that you think should be added to this coaching, or just let me know how this impacted you in whatever way. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see y'all next time.